Hey, my pervies. Thank you for coming to the next episode of Cocktales and Cleavage. I know. I'm so excited about this new name. We took a little time off, did a little rebranding, and now I have a lovely co-host, Miss Joy Perez. All right, everybody, wait for the silent clapping. All right. She will be co-hosting with me going forward. I wanted to take a little bit of time to just introduce her. I have a couple of questions on my handy dandy phone. But before we get started with this new change, we will now be having different cocktails with each episode. And this cocktail is called
Calimocho.
I was going to say calamari. She did an amazing job. She did a great job. And it is a red wine and Coke, and it's really, really good. So we're going to start with asking a few questions. You ready?
I am.
You sure?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So the first question is, can you tell our listeners a little bit about yourself and how you got into the BDSM community?
So I identify as a leather bratty switch. It's taken me a couple of years to really be comfortable with who I am and really embrace all of my identities. I came into the kink community about 17 years ago. My sir and I kind of stumbled upon kink. We were actually on Adult Friend Finder for some of the old heads who remember Adult Friend Finder, because we are poly, and we were looking for another person to join our relationship. And somebody mentioned on Adult Friend Finder, but also on Craigslist personals, because, you know.
Was it the back page?
Yes. Well, they had the back page, but they also had the personals.
Yes, to both. I know.
Yes. And a couple of people had mentioned FetLife. And so for those who have been on FetLife or like recent to FetLife, you have a username and then you have like a user number. Mm-hmm. Sir and I joined FetLife in its very early stages, so like our member ID number is in the low 3 digits. I want to say like 100 something. So like we were there and just stumbling through FetLife and really learning some of the terminologies that were being thrown around and educating ourselves. We realized that things that just came naturally to us and how our relationship was already like progressing. We were kinky. The authority exchange and how our marriage worked. And so we went out and started meeting some people in our local community. And Sir and I actually were talking about this a couple of weeks ago about like when our leather journey actually started. Mm-hmm. And I had always told people, oh, it's been like 7 years since I started my leather journey. And that was from coming into Darkside and being around other leather folks. But he and I were actually talking, and we actually found leather a long time ago when we first came into the kink scene here in Kalimotxos. He and I both had mentors back then when we first came, but they eventually left the area because military, but also because, you know, drama and politics that happen in the community. And we kind of like lost touch with those really beginning influences, and we fell into the wrong crowd. It was very much do as I say, not as I do. And the things they were doing were not consensual or safe practices. We ended up leaving the local community for a little while, and I met Beast. And in trying to like introduce him to our lifestyle and educate him on things, came back into the community, and it was a totally different crowd of people, but the same very toxic, negative environment. And we didn't really last long that time around. We met some pretty bad influences. I don't know. That seems very tame for what it really is.
That's too amazing of people.
Right. We learned very quickly that how things are being done in our local community wasn't really how we wanted to do things, and we had tried like stepping out on our own, and we were hosting play parties on our own, trying to create a very different, safer, consent-based atmosphere. But again, life happens. I got sick, we had kids, life lifed, and we stepped back for a little while. One of the people that we had built a very strong connection with was Sir Ray Soju. And even after leaving the community, he consistently was like in my inbox or at my house, just kind of checking in on us. Hey, you guys good? And then one day he approached us with CTX Darkside. And I want to say it took us about a year before we were even comfortable coming back out into the community. Even though we left the community, kink never left our life. We continued doing things on our own. We tried finding community online, but you only get so far online.
Right.
Especially before a lot of these social media platforms became a thing. So we went to our first CTX Darkside Munch. Then we went to our first CTX Darkside event, and that has kind of just been home. When we started our leather house and like really embracing leather ideations and culture, it became a mission for our house that we wanted to educate people so other people weren't falling into kink the same way that we did. Because we had such bad experiences in the beginning, we left multiple times.
Right.
And if we can help people in their beginning stages, hopefully their first experiences wouldn't be the same, and they wouldn't leave, and they would have more positive things and feel safer and more empowered to really embrace this. So that's how we started.
Awesome. All right, so next question. Can you share a bit about your personal and professional background outside of BDSM?
So outside of BDSM, I am the board president for Central Texas Pride Community Center. It is a local nonprofit advocacy group that champions the rights and equality for the LGBTQIA folks here in Central Texas. So, layman's terms, I'm a DEI coordinator for the queer community here.
Okay. Next question. How has your involvement in BDSM and leather community shaped you as a person?
Ooh. Why did I pick this question? I'm very, very transparent about who I am and the things that I struggle with. And one of my big struggles is mental health. Having borderline personality disorder, my brain is very chaotic. And left to my own devices, I can be very impulsive, very self-destructive, just fly by the wind, whatever feels good, this is what I'm going to do. Authority exchange relationships have given me the structure to be able to be a functioning human being. I know we preach that BDSM, kink, leather dynamics are not therapy, but they do provide good coping skills for me. I have been on medication, I have done therapy, I have in my adult life when I feel very out of control have gone and hospitalized myself to get the help that I need. So I'm in no way saying therapy is bad or that BDSM is a fix-all, but it does help me personally with a lot of my coping stuff. With BPD comes a lot of like suicidal ideations and things like that. And one of the things that's helped me is really my dynamic, my collar, because my brain has a lot of like negative self-talk, and sometimes you get wrapped up in this spiral and you can't really like see your way out of it. One of the things that Beast, who is my master and owns my collar, have implemented into our dynamic is when I get into these ruts of suicidal ideation, one of the things that we implemented in our dynamic is I'm not allowed to self-harm or attempt these things because I do not belong to me, I belong to him. Protect the property.
Mm-hmm.
And that when I get into these ruts, it really helps get me back on track. Sometimes you'll see me fiddle with my collar, or I'll sit here and hold it, or play with it, and it's my brain is going through its thing, and my collar grounds me, and it reminds me that I have a higher purpose, and that I need to protect the property.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So what are your aspiration or goals within the leather community?
Education. I'm very big on not just educating people about play and safety or things like that. I really like focusing on why we do what we do. What is the motivation behind a lot of our behaviors, things like that. I feel like my own identifiers, being a brat, being a switch, there's being a middle. You know, I have like these tendencies or these characteristics, and people have such negative connotations attached to a lot of these things. And I feel like individuals too, we struggle with accepting these identifiers because of those negative connotations.
Yes.
So we can break down what are these things, or break down why we behave the way we behave, and start doing a lot of like self-healing.
Mm-hmm.
When we start to heal from within, it'll become a little easier for us to actually start accepting who we are.
I can see that, because we know how long I struggled to like admit that I'm a bratty dominant. You're not supposed to be a brat. What was the saying? If you are a brat, then you're not really a dominant. You're really a switch. Let that sink in. Okay, so we're going to continue on. How do you balance your BDSM life with your everyday responsibilities and relationships?
This is my life, 24/7. I feel like no matter what I am doing, no matter what space I am at, living leather values is always at the core of who I am. How I talk to people, how I handle situations, even in raising my kids. My leather values are always at the forefront of what I'm doing. Before my kids even realized it, they were being raised with leather values, and it's shaped who they are as people. And my interactions with people, how I move in the nonprofit world, it gets very burdensome and it gets very emotionally charged. Mm-hmm. When you're talking about queer rights or trans rights or things like that, it's so easy to fly off the handle and let that passion and that anger drive you. But keeping my leather values at the forefront of my mind, I'm able to navigate these situations with a much more level head than I would have otherwise.
And that is all the questions that I have for you. So you're ready? I think that the next thing that we wanted to do was actually talk about the last two cons we went to. Part of the reason that it took us so long to get everything together and worked out and worked through and set up was because not only were we trying to revamp this vision, but we were also going to cons. So we went to Southeast Leather Fest in
Atlanta, Georgia.
Yeah, it was in Atlanta, Georgia, but when was it?
In June.
In June. Okay. And then this month, we went to CTX Darkside Kinky's Barbecue. And we wanted to take a moment to kind of like unpack the experience, because I do know that with a lot of people that we engage with online and with our TNG, a lot of them have never been to like a big con, and it can be scary. So I just wanted to take some time to kind of talk about the experience of both, the good, bad, if there are bad, so people could have a better idea of what that looked like. And our experiences are vastly different, because as she got to do all of the things and be involved with all of the things, and I got to go and experience this event through the eyes of my partner, with it being his first big con. So we definitely had two different avenues for the self situation. So I'll start with you. Like, how was self for you? How was the experience?
So I was actually invited to Self by Mistress Catherine to be a contest judge. And part of my duties as a judge was not only to do like the interviews and talking to the contestants and then sitting and judging through the contest, but also teaching. So a lot of my time at Self was with the contestants, a lot of behind the scene things, doing stuff like behind the scenes before the contest, and then being like front and center during the contest nights. Prior to Self, I never really sat through the contests. I went there for the education and I went there for the fellowship, so like my time was either in a classroom or being with like friends and family, because we only get to see each other at cons. So being in a space where I actually had to be in the conference, I was kind of kicking myself in the ass a little bit that I never like took the time to like sit through the contests and like engage with title holders and title holder contestants, because it was a phenomenal experience. We always see like title holders like after the sash and moving through spaces and doing all of the things, but really getting to see the hard work that they have to put into doing it. And then also being one of these people that the event producer is literally handing you their baby. These are people that is going to be representing the con for the next year. You know, their purpose is to go into spaces and share about Self and talk about Self and like draw people into Self. So being entrusted with that much, you know, Mistress Catherine has been doing this for 20 years, and she's basically putting her baby in your hands and being like, okay, I'm trusting you guys with my baby. One of the things over the weekend was arranged marriage. She was entrusting us to arrange a marriage and to ensure that the people that we were putting in place would not only like work together really well, but also represent the con appropriately. Right. So that was a very empowering experience. It also made me realize how much work people put into their community, their love for their community, and you know, we've created this kind of bubble for ourselves in CTX Darkside. And being able to go out into other communities and know that no matter where you go, there's going to be people who have the same passion for their community, their same love for community as you. It's like, this is what leather is. Right. So that was pretty awesome.
So I don't have such amazing, amazing things. I always go to cons for the educational aspect of things. I am big on education. I'm big on learning for myself. So being able to go and view all of the classes and do all of the things is really my, like, that's like my high for everything. And then being able to like be there with my partner as he was going through and doing all of the things, and having somebody to really sit down and unhash as it happens. Like, so you're able to sit down and talk about the different experiences, being able to share space and go to the classes or go to separate classes, because we did that several times, and then came back with our notes. Then we got to be big dorks and talk about all of the things that we learned. And then also meeting people, like, of course, seeing family and friends and things of that nature, but also meeting new people, meeting new family, finding new people to kind of connect with. It can be, like we say all the time, scary getting out and touching grass, but the experience of it all, being able to see everything like in real time versus just being online, it's priceless. Like, you can't get it from it. It can't be recreated. It can't be duplicated. It is literally something that you have to experience. in order to see it. Even with me, I started online. I talked about that before. I started online. I was online for 3 years before I got off and touched grass. But I can tell you that one event, going off and seeing these dynamics in real life, you have one viewpoint of things, and then when you go in and you're like, wait, I saw a lady in a grocery store, right? And this happened. Could they have been in a dynamic? Like, your whole life changes. Like, everything has to be like, I bet you she kinky. Hey, here I was thinking this was abuse. Maybe it's consensual. So, like, being able to really see the world, it gives you the ability to see the world in a whole new way. It is like, you know, when people talk about enlightenment, it really do be like an enlightenment. And you're like, well, now maybe this isn't as abusive as we thought it was. Like, I get it. Like, there's some abusive people out here. But, you know, some people may like this, or this could have been negotiated, or maybe, you know, this really gets, you know, him or her going, you know, and being able to see it. So, like, for me, going to cons is just that, the education and the experience. It's something that a book can't give you, that online can't give you. So that's what self was for me.
Let's talk about how diverse and safe self felt.
Yes.
I've been going to cons for a couple of years now, and I don't like being alone. I always have to have somebody with me because I always feel very unsafe.
I can understand
Let's
that.
call it what it is. But there was a lot of times, because I had my judge's duty, where I had to be by myself. My partners could not be with me. You know, they were off doing their own things, so I volunteered pretty much the whole weekend. And Rebel was off frolicking with other bears. So I had to be by myself a lot. And I don't think at any one moment I ever felt unsafe walking through the halls of the con floor. There was even a morning where we were sitting through presenter presentations, and it got very emotionally charged, and it was a little bit triggering. And, you know, I sat through the whole session, and then during break I had to excuse myself. And when I went outside to the smoking section, you know, just me crying, the look on my face, having complete strangers call out to me, embrace me, talk to me, help me through those moments, was so amazing, you know, and I never felt at any point over the weekend like unsafe or unseen or invalidated. It didn't matter if they had never met you before or anything. Like, people were so open to talking with you and sitting and having a conversation with you. It was such an amazing feeling, and I don't think I've ever felt that way at a big con of that magnitude.
I can understand that. I did more volunteering because I was a voluntold, and I had to volunteer. I won't say who, I'll get an assignment. But I enjoyed that, actually. I am a person, like, I know I seem like I'm all, like, friendly and all that. I mean, and I can be, but I'm very much a to myself person, a speak when spoken to type person. And so having to volunteer, and then the spaces in which I was volunteering at, you know, I was at the elevator. So I made myself say hi to everybody as I got off the elevator. I'd be like, that's it. Whole conversations. That's not me. I don't be talking like that. But I did, which allowed me to, like, make connections with different people. I was a runner, and there was one time where I didn't have anything to do. Like, I was just there, and then there was this woman, and she had a pony, and they had these little dancing ribbons, and so I got one, and then we spent like 45 minutes creating dances. It was phenomenal. It was so random and so great, and the amount of people that just walked by and was like, okay, so what is the performance? And we're like, next year we're gonna be practicing. It was an amazing time, with just the energy, like she talked about, and just the type of people that were there, and just how it just seemed very inclusive and welcoming. which is something that it doesn't always feel that way. So watching these cons grow and change and evolve and become safer spaces for people that are newer. You don't have to necessarily know someone. You just have to be willing to step outside of that comfort zone and spark up a conversation. And people are willing to sit there and talk to you about all the many things. So I definitely agree. This was it was a very welcoming situation. So yeah, kudos to Soph.
I was trying to pull up their information. But next year, if you're looking for a big con, Southeast Leatherfest is definitely one I would recommend. Definitely.
Yes.
Mistress Catherine has poured her heart and soul into this con, and all those who are involved in helping to throw this con have done an amazing job of trying to create a very safe and inclusive atmosphere. So it's something that I will definitely return to, and I would recommend to other people.
Oh yeah, definitely. This was my second year at Self, and if I have the time, energy, and resources, I will definitely be back. And it's definitely a space that I would recommend for others. So let's talk about like our baby, the one that we love so much, which is CTX and Darkside. It's not really my baby; it's my baby by adoption. I didn't procreate to have this one, but CTX Darkside, I absolutely adore it. And so for me, starting off online, I've had my share of uncomfortable situations, unsafe environments, objectification, things of that nature where I didn't feel safe, you know? And so just like Ray told you with you, it was with me. He jumped in my inbox. He was like, hey, this event is going on. And I was like, okay, weird, strange man on Vet Life that I don't know in my inbox probably was looking at my titties. I'm not sure how I feel about any of this, right? And so I ended up deciding to go. And it was my very, very, very first event. And I am so thankful that it was my first event because I remember coming in and I remember
being super overdressed.
Super overdressed. Like in my head, I was like, yeah, I'm going to be the baddest bitch, right? Now I'm going to be like dressed in my makeup. I'm going to be face beat to the guy. It's going to be amazing. I walk in. Yeah, I'm about to kill it. And people are in flip-flops and tennis shoes and kilts. Fucking kilts. I was like, what the fuck, right? But it was such a and even with me being so overly dressed, nobody judged me. Nobody judged me. And I remember just engaging with people and just how the interactions were amazing, and my first cigar social and dominant round table, and I'm the only chick out there, and I'm like, hey, and everybody was like, hey, so, and got to talking, and I was asking questions, and they was answering questions. It was phenomenal. So for a first con for me, it was amazing. So now what? Four in? Two in? I don't know. It's a bunch in, right? It's like going home. Every time I go, I describe it as a family reunion. Like I go in and I get to be every part of me. Like there's no part of me that I have to kind of like put to the side because it's maybe unacceptable. Like everyone knows, oh yeah, you know, Miss Locke, she's silly, but she'll burn this bitch to the ground. She'll knock all this shit over. Like it's just thing, and I don't have to hide bits and pieces of myself. I don't feel like I'm too much. I never feel like I'm not enough. It's always so welcoming. There's so many educational opportunities. There's a wealth of knowledge. Like I get to watch people get their ass beat. I get to watch and see human pinatas. Like, there's just so much going on all the time. And I get to be naked. And I'm never naked. But the opportunity to be naked. Okay, that speaks to my soul. I'm never naked. But if I wanted to be, I could be. And that's what matters, right? And so, like, I don't even know how to describe it other than that feeling of being home. And I believe that that's why my con drops with this is so major, because I really do get to just take off all of those outside guards and just be me. And so then when I have to put those guards back on, that drop be real. Because now I'm sad, because now I have to go and be an adult with regular people. It's gross. I don't like it. But yeah, I always enjoy my dark side.
So this was year 9. The Kinky Barbecue was our 9th year doing it. So Darkside has been established for 9 years, and then myself and House of Chaos have been a part of the actual, like, attending for 7 years now, and we've been a part of the board for about 5 years now. When we first started coming to Darkside events, the reason why it took us so long to even start coming to Darkside events is because we didn't want to make the same mistakes that we did the first and the second time around. So really, like, vetting the con. Even though we knew Soju prior to, and even though he would check in on us, we really had lost touch. You know, we didn't really know this person anymore quite the same way that we knew them back then. And then we definitely didn't know Master Bear. So just, like, vetting around, and we had started, like, re-immersing ourselves back in the community, and we were asking people, like, hey, have you heard about CTX Darkside? Have you been to any of their events? My partners, you know, the guys, Beast is white, Sarah is white presenting. So the immediate response was, oh, well, they're not going to feel welcome there because it's a black-only space. And, you know, having to tell people, well, I don't really feel comfortable here because this is a white-only space, you know? So going to our very first, and I know we're not supposed to talk about what happens in our roundtables, but one of the things that the guys did tell me about was, like, in their dominance roundtable, somebody had made a comment about, you know, why the fuck are these white dudes here? You know, and Soju and Bear, like, very right off the cuff, like, putting them in their place and, like, making sure that the guys knew that this was a space for them too. And, you know, checking people. Darkside is very good about checking people. And this space is for everybody, and if you're coming here to disrupt that, this is not the space for you. And we started volunteering, like, right away. Not even in, like, an official capacity at all. It was those first, I want to say, 2 events. We saw Bear and Soju literally just running themselves ragged, trying to make sure that everything was running smoothly and that everybody had everything they needed to enjoy the weekend. And then finally one day we were like, hey, you know, outside in the vanilla world, I feed homeless people. I'm accustomed to cooking and feeding, you know, 100+ people weekly. Let me take over Sunday brunch. And then it was like, you know, Soju was at the grill all weekend long and not really be able to, like, enjoy the con themselves. And the guys were like, hey, let me help you take over some of this stress so you can enjoy too. Being a part of Darkside at official capacity was not something that we had envisioned. We just saw a need, or we saw that they needed help, and we just started putting ourselves in positions and offering the help. And Soju and Bear approached us about joining the board. And from there, it's just been c'est la vie, you know. This has become our baby as much as it's become Soju and Bear's baby. We want to make sure that the vision for Darkside and the space that we create is everything that the community needs. And sitting here and listening to you talk about Darkside this past weekend, you know, we check on our people, all of our newbies, people that we've invited in, and listening to them talk. We don't make any money off of Darkside at all. Darkside is supposed to be accessible for everybody, so financially accessible to everybody. A lot of our cons, we dip into our own personal funds to be able to fund these events, so that way the community has the most amazing experience possible. So we don't measure success about how in the green we are after the event. We measure our success by listening to the stories of the people who leave our event. And it has really become this space where people come to just let loose. You know, there's no fancy hotel, and there's no fancy attire, and there's no dress code, and there's no pretentiousness. When Locke said family reunion, that's literally what it is. People will literally come from across the U.S. and in the summertime for the barbecue, battle Texas heat.
Oh my gosh!
And really just hold space with us, and it's usually I'm the one running around with my head chopped off, trying to make sure everything's running smoothly. However, over the last couple of events, we've had some amazing people step up and offer to volunteer in spaces, so that way all of the producers have the ability to enjoy the weekend just as much as everybody else. So this weekend, I really got to sit and just watch people. And I know my vibe was off from the beginning. Coming into this barbecue was pretty emotionally charged for me. We had a Pacifica panel and that I sat in on, and so coming into the barbecue, I was already my headspace was off, my vibe was off. I wasn't really in it. And I remember Thursday night before the pre-festivities, you and I sat and talked, and we both talked about life and life-in.
It has.
And I ain't feeling this shit.
Nope.
And we were both like, okay, we're going to check each other. If my face is off, let me know. If my face is off, I'll let you know. And we touched base with each other Thursday night, and then by Friday afternoon, I think both of us were
okay.
Yep.
It was okay. Because we were with family. And a lot of times people don't realize that you feed off of the energy around you. So even when you come in, you're not in the best of headspace, when you're around other amazing energy, it just kind of pours into you. And it makes everything just a little bit better. So I feel of course, people still fix your face. But it was the normal fix your face. People always tell me girls. People are always telling me to fix my face. And
I had a moment of realization this past week, reflecting over the weekend. And I forgot myself for a minute. I remember at Self, people are always telling me to sit the fuck down. Okay? They're always telling me to sit down, relax, stop doing so much, stop taking on so much, because I really do. World domination. That's my thing.
Pinky in the barn.
But I believe it was Sir Blacksmith approached me and asked me if I was taking care of myself, and do I need anything, this and this and that. And I had told him at Self, the month prior to, that what I do in my vanilla life is really taxing. So coming into leather spaces and being around my leather community and family is what really vitalizes me to be able to go back and do what I do in the vanilla world. And I forgot that for a moment coming into the barbecue. And I was just I don't want to be here. Y'all are fucking lucky I'm here. I really want to just be in bed because fuck all this shit. And literally within 24 hours, I was like, yeah, no, this is exactly where I needed to be.
And I can agree. Life has been crazy for me. There's been a lot of change, a lot of growth, a lot of struggle, a lot of tears for me. However, through this growth, my leather family has always been like right there, holding space and allowing me to just be and exist unapologetically. And so, once again, like you said, I don't want to be here. Like, let me tell y'all, it was so bad. Like, I had been applying for like different positions, and I needed to do an interview, a virtual interview. And I was like, maybe it's the universe telling me that I don't need to be doing the virtual interview. And he was like, all right, you're going to get out this damn space, this headspace you're in, and then you're going to be devastated because you had an opportunity to interview and you didn't. Like, that's how bad my headspace was. I was about to be like, you know what? Do I really need more money? I don't think I need more money. Fuck this shit. You know? And so, you know, but just being in this space with that energy really helped. I had to push through that portion because I was still mad. And I was mad I had to go do all the things. But by the end, it was all worth it. And so I just feel like when we tell people to get out and like touch grass, they think that we are trying to bully them into something, and that's not it. It's just the experience is so different. You think that the connectivity is what it is online. Imagine that how amazing it is when you make these connections in person. Like,
yeah, then that's the hardest part too, is you get comfortable when you've been doing it as long as we have. When you go to a con weekend for 3 or 4 days, you're literally waking up and going to sleep surrounded by your community and your chosen family. And then the weekend ends and you have to go back to your normal life. I mean, we are lucky enough where we live close and we have each other and we talk on a daily basis. If we go one day without talking to each other, we're like,
you good?
What's wrong with you? Right. Don't make me pull up.
Do you not love me? Just say it, okay?
But not everybody has that. And so leaving cons, like that's when we talk about like con drop. It's going back to your regular life and not being fully submersed in this. I remember when Rebel first started learning about what it is to do, she did a lot of reading online, and I asked her one day, so what did you read today? What'd you learn? You know, and one of the books talked about role play. This is a role play. And, you know, and having to, like, tell her, like, okay, for some people it is role play. For some people it is just in the bedroom. For some people it is just something to kind of spice up their relationship. For those of us who live this 24/7, it is not role play. For us, the role play is our vanilla life. We put on a mask when we go to work. We put on a mask when we have to take the children to school and do doctor visits and things like that. When we get to go to cons, specifically Darkside, that's when we are able to shed that mask and be who we truly are. And then having to go back Monday or Tuesday and having to put that mask back on for the rest of the world,
it's sad.
It is.
It's sad. See, and now you're talking about like your partner and like that. And it was so funny because mine would always have all these weird questions. Like he'd always be like, okay, so what's the governing body? Like, who decides? Is it like a tribal thing? Do they like... He always had like all of these really weird questions, and I'd be like, I don't even know how to answer this. Like, I don't think it's a tribal. I don't think it's a tribal thing. And he's like, well, I need to know who do we talk to? So
if Joy says it's okay, it's okay.
Yeah, But if you leave it to that man, they bring him back dueling. They bring him back dueling. So, but yeah, cons are a great experience. They can be scary, but it's only scary the very first time. Afterwards, it's just more and more and more comfort. So it's about like pushing past that fear, because fear will keep your ass behind that keyboard, and now you have like this dominant that's telling you, yeah, and I got 70 years of experience, but I'm 25, and you know I've been living this life, you know. Couldn't fight their way out of a wet paper bag, but let me tell you what to do, you know. So just, you can be whatever you want to be online, you know, and that is also something that I talk about all the time. I remember someone was like, hey, you know, we added you to like a safe list. And I was like, me? And they were like, yeah. I was like, why? And they were like, because we know you and you're safe. And I'm like, but do you really know me? Like, not to say that I'm not safe, but what vetting have you done to make sure that I'm safe? Just because I'm this person online, it does not mean that I'm that exact same person offline. Or just because I've met people offline, you could have been meeting my representative. Like, you don't really know me to know. So you need to be, especially, I didn't have a mentor at that time. I hadn't really been in the community like that. Like, you don't know me like that. Like, I could be.
Everybody thinks I'm this really tall person.
That is true. Yeah, she's like 2'11". Like, it's crazy, but she's so cute though. Go ahead, do your cute face. See, and it's always so crazy because she's so little, right? But then I'm super tall, so then we're just like, hey,
I am the perfect height. I'm titty level. Okay.
She's totally titty level. Or in heels. She enjoys heels and in a short skirt, so she can put her face in your ass.
Consensually. But yes. But I get that a lot. Like, people tell me, like, my online presence or my online personality, and then they meet me in person, and they're like, holy shit, you're small. I'm like, yes.
Yeah, that still kick you in the fucking kneecaps. Don't get it twisted.
Like, but that just, you know, we can be whoever we want to be online, and getting to know somebody in person makes all the difference. Online, you don't get to really exchange energy. You don't really get to feel somebody's vibe, their facial expressions, their body language, because online they can tell you whatever it is that you want to hear or whatever they think you want to hear. However, how you see me online is how you will see me in person. I'm still the same bully on and offline.
But you know what's really crazy is that I think that for me, people get confused. So people are like, oh, she's really nice. And I am super nice until I'm not. And so I think that the until I'm not part, like, that part gets lost in translation. So everybody's like, oh, she's great. Maybe she's like this caring dominant. Maybe she's, and let me go play in her face. And now I'm like, so you want me to burn this bitch to the ground now? Everybody's like, wait a minute. Because this wasn't what I was expecting. A, because you didn't really know me. You knew a section of me. I am more than just
print.
That. Everyone knows the fine print is Miss Locks will burn this bitch to the ground.
So something was shared this past week. Excuse the binary terminology. However, it said, I'm a gentleman, not a gentleman. And, like, switch up the wording and make it fit who you are. And I think that's exactly what describes us. I will be polite and respectful. However, I'm going to politely and respectfully check your ass when you fall out of line.
And sometimes disrespectfully. Depending on how bad it was. Once again, not all the shit over.
Sometimes violence needs to be met with violence.
It does. And just know that our partners are with the shits.
And that's what kills me. People see my collar and only judge me by my collar. However, I do not move and I do not say things that is not within my bounds. So if you see me coming at you disrespectfully, know that I have the full force of the entire House of Chaos behind me. Okay? And usually it's because they've thrown me at the situation. Beast has been known to, in talking to somebody, and if he feels like they're being super problematic, he will call me over and be like, now tell her what you just said, and then sit back with this shit-eating grin on his face and watch me, like, devour them. So, like, he's with the shit.
Yeah. Yeah. Because we wouldn't be in a partnership if they did. And they have to be calmer. Because we're rah-rah. Everybody can't be rah-rah. Like, we need somebody to tell us, hey, you need to relax. However, if it happens, and you'll see us then take a step back, because I'm gonna mind my black ass business, and he burned it to the ground. He's lighter fluid. Good. All right, I'm gonna stay over here. So
I'll hold the lighter. You want me to light that for you?
Hold on, wait. I feel like we got to talking, and I lost track. But I believe that there was a question that was supposed to be posed. We're trying all these new little segments, y'all. So I will be posting a new email address. So if there's things that people want to see, we'll be posting asks and things like that going forward. But we were informed that they found a topic that they wanted us to discuss, and they don't let us know what it is.
Because they want to see our reaction.
It's probably fuck shit.
I'm scared. You can't fix your face fast enough, and sometimes my face just be telling. So.
And I am down to my second class. So.
Let me catch up real quick before we do that.
Okay. All right.
Tiny person means tiny stomach, and let's not go there. Okay, we're ready.
All right. So this article was actually very recent, which a lot of these kink articles. This only happens once every blue moon. So like I will pull articles from the past, but this one just happened July 9th.
Oh. Okay.
Women charged with killing sugar daddy.
Fuck yeah! Sorry.
Cutting off his thumb to keep access to his accounts.
What's the question?
So in Washington, it's not a question.
Oh, okay.
This is just for y'all to react to.
Okay.
Okay.
Court documents are giving new details around the violent death of a 53-year-old man and the two women accused of killing him. According to the Metropolitan Police Department, Fasil Teklemariam was found stabbed to death on Friday, April 5th. The 53-year-old man was found dead inside an apartment on the 1300 block of Peabody Street shortly before 11:30 p.m. As of June 21st, two women have been arrested in connection to his death. 22-year-old Tiffany Taylor Gray and 19-year-old Audrey Miller. According to court documents, he was found dead inside a bedroom with trauma to his head and torso and several lacerations on his legs and hand. Additionally, police say his right thumb had been cut off. Autopsy results revealed that his thumb had been removed either close to death or afterwards. It goes on with many more details.
Don't need all that.
Which we don't need. However,
Pineapple.
I know that we have to. I know sometimes, we gotta do what we gotta do. How do y'all feel about these women cutting off their sugar daddy's thumb to keep access to his bank accounts?
I mean, that's some hard time.
Like, I feel like there's so much, like, not shared. If you're expecting oh, hell no, that's wrong, you can't get that from me. Like, I am a person that I'm like, well, what was the sugar daddy doing? How was things going? You know, everybody always likes to know the who, what, whens, and whys when, you know, some other stuff happens. I'm the same with things like this as well. So, like, well, because if he was a sugar daddy and he was sugaring daddy and like he was supposed to be sugaring daddy, and what was the purpose of killing him? Because that's going to stop the sugar. You know what I mean? So logic. No. But he's going to die. So that means that there's not going to be money coming into those accounts anymore. So it's not lucrative to kill a sugar daddy. Daddy still needs to... Sorry. The idea of calling people daddy makes my whole soul hurt. But the D dude gotta get out there. And he gotta make my motherfucking money. You get what I'm saying? He can't do that dead. And his thumb don't mean shit if ain't no revenue in the bank account. And how much money is in the bank account? Because my thing is that, did you really need his thumb? Couldn't you just, like, I feel like on their end as well, were they really the sugar babies that they needed to be? Because why you gotta kill your sugar daddy in order to get for your sugar baby? He's supposed to be passing out sugar. Were they not twerking it? Were they not doing something strange for a little piece of change? There's rules and regulations in that. That's why I can't be nobody's sugar baby. They'd be like, oh, I want all this attention. Hey, bitch, relax. I'm not gonna do all that, you know? So, what about you?
Okay, so this is where our brains went off. This is why we're friends. She has all the crazy, wild ideas. My brain went to, and this is why we teach people to have exit strategies. Every dynamic should have an exit strategy. What happens when the dynamic no longer is, you know, lucrative from both ends? How do you separate and still be able to, you
live?
know? Yeah. My brain went education.
And I was like, well, what the fuck happened? I'm like, the purpose of... I still ain't found nobody worth be using the D word. Like, ever. So...
I'll be your daddy.
No. As soon as you said it, I was like, absolutely not.
Yeah, that don't work for me.
It's alright. It's alright.
Yeah, no.
But you know, I'm not cutting off thumbs. I feel like there's more to it. I feel like the sugar babies weren't doing what the sugar babies were supposed to do.
Can I ask a controversial question?
Go ahead.
Were they white?
That's a good question. There's not a mugshot.
Hold on.
We're going to have to do some research.
Hold on, wait, no, we not. What we gonna do is we're gonna delete that portion. We gonna cut this off. This is not something that we can share with the fans.
No.
I'm going to just cut it off at were they white?
No! Absolutely not. The already white is the problematic part. You gotta cut before that. Hey, we trying to monetize this shit. Stop playing with me.
No, but for real. Okay, so back to the seriousness. But yeah, I don't know, that shit. But no, for real, this is why everybody talks about how to get into these types of situations.
Nobody talks about how to get out.
I know, like, idealistically, every relationship we go into or every dynamic, we're thinking longevity, long term.
But everything isn't long term.
Right.
And we have to be realistic about that. Yeah. I mean, our last relationship wasn't long term.
I know I used to joke about, things with Beast because of the substantial life insurance policy. However, that was always a joke and I would never, actually...
Let's talk about how my nightmares are set up. I would not sit well with my sweat. Like, I know that I'm already going to, hell. Like, I know, in a handbasket. I grasp it every day. And we totally are, but it won't be for all of our partners.
No, not
at all. But I will hold their hand with us as we drag them with us. So, we gonna be together forever. But in the depths of hell.
Which leads us into the next section.
Yes. So we have a new section that we are doing. It'll be every episode. called the Burn Book. Merch coming soon. I'm so excited. I'm creating it. Hey, don't judge my life. So, and we will be reading from like our emails. Eventually, we'll start accepting emails from others that want to share like their experience, so we can kind of share it and talk about it. But there was a situation recently in regards to an individual within the lifestyle that we live that is very problematic in nature. It is one thing to come in and talk about things from a newer standpoint. It's another thing to come in and represent yourself as knowledgeable when you don't have the knowledge base. And then when called out on problematic things that are being said by yourself or those that you employ, that you back or that you're partners with, then it's a problem. Then it is often put out there that people are being haters and they just don't want to see you shine. And, you know, as you heard earlier in our segment, we talk about the love for the community. We talk about the education, the need for education, the knowledge base that everybody needs to have to be able to be out here and be free and be frolicking. I don't even know where to go with this because I gave this aspect because I'm trying to make sure that like I'm not burning too much. So I'm gonna let you kind of take over because right now it's like burn it to the ground. So I'm like, this is where I tap you in. You go.
So we were part of a Facebook group that was led by a kinkster. Mm-hmm. But had mixed company in it. Mm-hmm. You had kinksters, you had leatherfolk, you had swingers, different people from different lifestyles all coming to a space. And you had newbies and you had people in like all different lengths of their journey. Mm-hmm. But they advertised this group to be an educational resource for everybody. And one of the moderators just posted fuck shit all the time. I am not somebody who engages in a lot of social media drama. I don't really engage in spaces a lot unless I feel like it's something that needs to be said. And because of that, that was used against me and turned and said that I was being a bully because I was calling out the moderator who made this post out. And I had done it on several occasions. But again, if a post doesn't warrant me saying anything because somebody else has already gone in or I'm actually like okay with the post, I won't engage. If I have nothing to add value to, I just won't do it. If it's something that like, yeah, that's a little problematic, but somebody else has got it, I'll let it go. However, there's things that I don't play about. That's brats and switches. And when somebody comes into a space and they're talking about brats, or talking about switches, or talking about middles, or talking about age regression, these are very controversial topics. There's not a lot of education surrounding these things. And when there's misinformation being put out, I'm always going to say something. Mm-hmm. And I felt like I did it in a way that wasn't problematic. And the moderator who posted it kind of like pushed back. And the only thing I said was, where is the accountability? Every time you're called out on something, you pass the buck off to somebody else. Mm-hmm. Pass the blame off to somebody else. Where is your accountability? You posted this. Mm-hmm. You shared the information. Even if it wasn't your specific words. The fact that you reposted it means that you're signing
You're in
off
agreement. You're in
on
agreement.
these things.
Mm-hmm.
Check your facts. And because of that, I was labeled as a bully and I was kicked from a group. I was told that my behavior was an embarrassment to my house and my affiliated houses.
That in itself, like it's. So I had already left that group previously. It was just, to me, extremely problematic. The viewpoints and the shares and the things that were allowed to be said. I believe someone said something earlier about, the problems of Oreos in kink and BDSM spaces. And we all know, if you know, Oreos is a derogatory term for Black people that are deemed as proper, that articulate their words well. And that wasn't a problem, right? That wasn't something that was problematic nor called out on. What I find to be problematic in a lot of this is, who are you to say that someone is causing embarrassment to anybody? You, someone that is not of that community, that you're still trying to find your space. And not only are you trying to find your space, you're trying to curate and make your own shit. And instead of saying, hey, I like this part of kink, I like this part of swinger, I like this part of leather, I want to take it and I want to mash it all together. Instead, you want to talk about bringing back class. Who said that what we do is classless? Who says that you are the person to bring it back? You don't know enough people. You don't have enough education. You don't have enough know-it-all about yourself to even come out here and speak on half of the shit that you're speaking on. You come in, you offend people, right? We won't talk about the lack of acknowledgement of women dominance. That's a whole nother conversation for a whole nother side, because we shouldn't be dominant, right?
Women
because
in general.
All of that, but this particular individual will acknowledge submissive women. He will not acknowledge dominant women. And it's crazy to me because it's the audacity. Like, realistically speaking, you don't seem like you can guide anybody. You don't look like you could lead a horse to water. How are you expected to be able to come in and lead a human being in the way they should be? A lot of people don't understand that in these streets, the streets talk. Your reputation is all that you have. And when you leave all of these problematic issues that you've had with other individuals, and they know the inner workings of you and how you move. Hey, we know the inner workings of you and how shit moves, and your lack of control, your lack of ability, your lack of integrity, all of that. You are not a good person. And so you can pretend, and you can only pretend to those that don't have the experience. And every time I see people like that, it's why I do what I do. It's why when a Joy offered to give me for me to take over the TNG, the CTX TNG and Beyond Munch, I did. Because it doesn't matter if you're a swinger, it doesn't matter if you're a kinkster, it doesn't matter if you're leather. As long as you are moving with safety, because that's the scary part. That's what scares us to get from behind the computers and come out and touch grass, because we don't know what we should be looking for. And these type of individuals, they really do prey on those that don't know, because you don't know better. And they don't want to take you to places where you can get education, where you can learn from people that have been in the lifestyle for a long time. And it doesn't matter which section you're looking at, there are people that are knowledgeable within those subsections. And they don't want you to get to know them. Why? Because then they lose their control because they don't even know what the fuck they're doing.
See, and that's the only reason why I went to my page and made like this post, because usually I won't. You said what you said, whatever, and I just leave it alone. However, I live my life very out loud. Mm-hmm. My vanilla world knows who I am and what I do. Mm-hmm. If you go to CTPC's webpage, it clearly says that I am part of the leather community, that I am polyamorous. I live out loud so that other people who are looking for community can recognize somebody who's in a community. Mm-hmm. And I have worked very hard to be this safe person who I work very hard to create these spaces for people. Mm-hmm. And when you call my character into question, it pisses me the fuck off. Mm-hmm. And I feel like I didn't name any names, didn't name the group, I didn't name the individuals, I said what I had to say, and they came into my space and inserted themselves into my space.
But that's because people knew you didn't have to name names, you didn't have to name groups.
I broke the internet for a whole week.
Like, people knew what it was because the streets talk.
Yeah.
They talk, and you now have a reputation. So congratulations, you know? And you can make it seem like people are bullies and people are mean and people don't like you and no reason, and they don't want to accept and they don't want to do, and it's crazy to sit back and demand so much acceptance while literally pushing for elitism. Like, make it fucking make sense. Like, how dare you expect everyone to accept you for you and all of who you are while sitting back and shitting on people because they don't do things like you do things. You know, I try not to shame. So I'm really trying to watch what I say because I really can be mean. So I'm trying to work around and just not be as brutally honest as I am or as I can be. But at the end of the day, like, you're a shit person. Okay?
It's a shit group.
It's a shit group. Your mama should have swallowed. And instead, now we gotta fucking deal with you. That's as nice as I got, okay? That's as nice as I got. And people can feel how they want to feel. And if you want to pull up, you can pull up. Because maybe this ain't it. But I'm keeping it real. Because a lot of times when we're moving in these spaces, we have to keep it cute. And, politics. And I'm so tired of people being able to move in disrespectful, dishonest, disingenuous ways, and us just be like, well, you know, we just have to, once again, like my partner said, bring dueling back. Bring it back. Like, there is absolutely no reason for you to be that type. You can exist in the space the way you need to exist without shitting on other people. And if these individuals just existed how they wanted to exist, I promise there would be no problem, because I am a firm believer of live and let live. Just because I don't rock with you doesn't mean I don't think that you can't eat. You just can't sit at my table. But you can create your own table, and I'm sure there will be people that come to your table and do what you do. But to come in and try to pretend as if, to try to infiltrate, to try to say that you were mentored by somebody and then when called out, then, I don't mean this person, I mean this person. You and your stiff wig can kiss my ass.
Words have meaning.
It totally does.
You know, we preach that a lot. Mm-hmm. Just because we say community doesn't mean the whole community. When we talk about community, we're talking about the community that we cultivate, that we feed into, correct, that we grow and correct, we foster. And it's super, super, super important to vet the community, mm-hmm, vet the people who you are engaging with, vet these social media groups that you're putting yourself into, because not everybody moves the same. And everybody lumps everything into lifestyle or what it is that we do, but you need to understand that there are different subsets of what it is that we do. There were so many times in this group I had to ask them, please clarify in which community you are speaking about, because kink culture, leather culture, swinger culture, it's all different. We all move differently. Just because we share a lot of the same terminologies doesn't mean it means the same thing.
So there was, because we're talking about vetting, so now that we've made it here, there was a conversation that was had. We were not supposed to talk about the roundtables, but I feel like this is important. That a lot of times we tell newer people to vet, but we don't explain vetting. Mm-hmm. And I feel like since you've spoken so much about vetting, it's really important to explain to them while we're telling them, oh, vet. How do they vet? How do they go in and make sure that those spaces that they are trying to become part of is where they need to be? Because just because you are not aligned with it doesn't make it unsafe. It's just not a space for you. So how would you recommend for those that are unsure how to go about vetting to vet correctly?
Whether it's FetLife or Facebook, usually in these groups you can see who's in the groups. And if you have like shared friends or friends who are already existing in these groups, ask the questions. Hey, I see you're a part of this group. What's it like? What do they talk about? How do you feel in these spaces? View vetting like you would a job interview or a potential partner. Mm-hmm. You're going to ask these questions. What is your group about? What do you envision with your group? How do you handle these things? What kinds of things do you talk about? Mm-hmm. Nobody talks about those things. I want to know, a lot of the times, if I'm able to, like, sometimes when people invite you to, especially Facebook groups, it gives you, like, so many days of preview into the group. Mm-hmm. And the very first thing I do is go into the member section and see who's in the group. Mm-hmm. Is there fuck people in this group? Is there people that I know who are super problematic in this group? Then I don't want to be a part of this group. Mm-hmm. You can see the topics of conversations that are being posted. Oh, they're letting this person post this, and this is super problematic. Maybe I don't want to be a part of this group. Mm-hmm. Oh, I really like the information that is being said in this group. Maybe this is the group for me. Mm-hmm. I also feel like sometimes people just put us in groups just to put us in groups because, hey, you're a big name and you're out there and it's going to draw people to my group. Discernment is a big thing. Are you being used for notoriety? The people who are putting you in this group, are they actually your friends? Do you talk to these people on a regular basis? Or are they just putting you in here just to, like, push themselves up?
I agree with all of that. I also think that as you are in these groups, let's say you say, okay, I think I like this group. As people are supplying information, look it up. Yeah. Like, we have the internet at our fingertips. You don't have to just don't take our word for it. Face value. Mm-hmm. Look it up. Do research as like we talked about the job aspect of things. When I first started in one of the positions at my job, I would use our group chat as a space to learn. So when people would ask a question, I would try to go in and answer said question and then see what the answer would be. And if I got it right, like I do the same for these groups. Okay, you're saying that this means that. Okay, well, let me look it up. Is this what it's saying? Is this being represented incorrectly? Imagine like the conversation about the brat situation. That whole, if you're a brat, you're not really a dominant, you're really a switch. If I didn't already know, I'd have been questioning myself. And it's also one of the reasons why it took me so long to identify as a brat. Because I was like, most brats are submissives. People are going to view me as submissives. Now I live for it. I will put on a harness that has something around my neck. I'll walk around with a stuffy. I'm not a damn little, but I got a stuffy. His name is Shaq. He's a penis. Mind your business, okay? And then I have so much fun having people approach me and be like, oh my gosh, you're so pretty, you're submissive. And then I'm like, boom, I'm a dominant bitch. And then it gives me.
What were you
like
saying over the weekend? I'm a whole D in these streets. I ain't gonna save your ass.
I'm not. Like, people are like, because I'm nice, and people will run up to me and be like, oh, and I'm like, where are you going? Why would you run to me? I'm a D type. Why are you over? We're women. We should stick together. Absolutely not. No, hand back over there. So it's really about just getting the information and not taking it at face value unless you know it's coming from someone that you truly trust. And even then, I would always tell you to second guess those people as well.
One of the biggest things to look for is if you have seen somebody who has put their bio up or put their introduction up and it is not something that they readily identify with. For example, the person who made this post. Mm-hmm. They have never identified as a brat. They've never identified as a switch. If they don't know information, are they willing to say, hey, I'm not really sure. Let me find out. Or tag somebody who they do know is one of those identifiers to be able to give the appropriate information. Being able to say, hey, I don't really know that. Let me find out
for you is okay.
Right.
It's okay. And it's also...
We're not supposed to know everything all the time.
At all.
Or how leadership takes criticism. If leadership doesn't take criticism well, or if leadership doesn't take feedback well, and their initial reaction is, oh, you get the boot, you're not going to disrupt my piece of my space, well, you're not a leader, you're a dictator.
And not just that, when we're looking at removal of people within that space, and we realize that, oh, it's just the women you removed. Any big name man that was in that space, they still there. Mm-hmm. They called you out in front of everybody and everything else, and they're still there existing because they make you look good. And that was my big thing. I felt like with your removal, it was like, oh, she just has a fan group. Like, I don't think
said that.
I don't
my
think,
entourage.
Yes. But I don't think that he realized, like, you're a covered slave. You are an educator. Your name moves shit out here in these streets. If he didn't realize that.
I don't think he realized the pushback he was going to get.
Not at all.
Because when Lady D called me a trailblazer, I didn't really grasp what that meant until recently. Me speaking out and me pushing the buck and me really questioning them gave other people the courage to do the same, because I can't tell you how many comments were like, oh, hey, XYZ always looked questionable, but I wasn't really sure if I could speak out on that. And you said something, so I'm going to go say something because this shit's been happening for so long.
Yep.
And nobody had ever said anything to them. Or this moderator has always been an issue, but I never felt like I could say something. I didn't mean to start this avalanche, but I'm kind of glad it did.
I don't think you started it, though. I think that the avalanche was already tilting, and then you came in and you was like, hey, yo, and the avalanche was like, like it was already set up to fall, right? And I think that you just pushed it. You were like, ooh, what is this? Is that a piece of ice touch? And it was like...
But I mean, if that's what needs to happen to make sure that, one, correct information is being put out there, but two, that predators are being called out.
Say it one more time because people don't like to say it. Predators, when you have predatory behavior, when you're moving like a predator, when you are out here and you do not want your people to know or have other aspects or looks of or ways to look at situations so you can continue to control the narrative and control how they look at it, you are a predator. And not in a good way. I don't mean like a lion. I don't mean like that type of thing. I mean like a bottom feeder. Like I feel like the dead bodies, catfish, are predators. I feel like they're like a catfish predator.
Oh, I've been taking it too far, but like, let's go back in.
Not a catfish predator.
The catfishes be wild, though. I'll talk about it. We just railed a lot a little bit, but welcome to our brains.
Yes, so I feel like we did pretty good for our first episode. I don't know what our next episode is going to be about. We're extremely random with everything that we do. So, I am definitely looking forward to like this trip. And we can talk all this stuff. And
I'm just here because assignment. No, I'm just joking. I really love this. This was actually fun. This was great.
Oh, yeah. So I was told that you guys are supposed to like, comment, and subscribe because I wasn't going to say that. And I should have said it. So, yes, we totally appreciate all that has been following, all that wants to start following. Also, if there are things that you're wanting to hear, have questions, things of that nature, like I said, when this is posted, we'll have the email posted with it, so you're able to reach out and do things of that nature. But yeah, like, comment, subscribe. I did it. Yay! All right, until next week, you guys.